After my father-in-law slapped my hand away from the family photo album and said, "You don't belong in our history," my husband closed the book. I sat quiet in the corner. Years later, when they opened that same album again, a photograph inside made them freeze because I don't even know why I'm writing this. Maybe just to get it out. I don't talk about this with anyone in real life, not even close friends. It's one of those things that sounds small to people who weren't there. But it wasn't small. It stuck to me for years. The moment happened about 9 years ago, and I still remember exactly what the room smelled like. I remember the sound of the ceiling fan and the way the light hit the photo album on that damn coffee table. I married my husband when I was 26. He came from a very close-knit, traditional family. Not rich, not fancy, but very tied to their own idea of what a family is supposed to be. They were proud of their history. Every birthday, every holiday, every baby, every graduation, they kept everything in giant leather photo albums. I'd seen them pull those albums out at gatherings, and everyone would crowd around and laugh and tell stories. I grew up differently. Small apartment. One parent. Not many pictures. The idea of a family album was new to me. I thought it was kind of beautiful, honestly. Anyway, we'd been married for a little over a year when this happened. It was a Sunday lunch at his parents' house. Just the usual group: his mom, dad, his sister and her husband, a couple of cousins, and us. We ate, made small talk. Then his sister asked their dad if she could see the blue album, which I guess had photos from the early 90s. He went to the hallway closet and brought it out. Everyone sat closer on the couches and leaned in around the coffee table. I stayed seated where I was, a little off to the side, but I leaned forward a bit because I was curious. I'd never seen his childhood pictures. I wasn't trying to insert myself. I just wanted to be part of the moment. At one point, his mom said, "Oh, look at that one of you in the pool. Remember that trip?" And everyone laughed. I leaned forward and said, "That's so cute." And I reached out, just to point at the picture. I didn't even touch the page. That's when my father-in-law slapped my hand away. Not a playful tap. Not a joke. He slapped my hand like I was a child reaching for something I wasn't allowed to touch. I froze. The whole room went quiet. And then he said, flat and cold, "You don't belong in our history." No one said anything. Not even my husband. He just quietly closed the album. I pulled my hand into my lap and sat back. The room eventually filled with awkward chatter again, like nothing had happened. But I was done. I didn't say another word for the rest of the visit. When we got in the car to leave, I asked my husband, "Did that not bother you?" He said, "Of course it did." But that was it. No real anger. No defense. And he never brought it up again. After that, something in me changed. I stopped trying so hard. I still went to family events, but I stayed quiet. I kept to myself. I didn't laugh too loudly or join in the stories. I never reached for another photo album. They never apologized. Not once. About 2 years later, I got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but we were both happy about it. My husband cried when I told him. We held each other on the kitchen floor and talked about names. For a moment, I thought maybe this was the beginning of something different. Maybe a baby would make me feel more connected to the family. I was wrong. When I started showing, I still went to a few family things. Baby bump and all. But the comments were cold. His mom said things like, "You'll get your figure back, don't worry. And let's hope the baby gets our family's nose." His sister asked if we were even ready for a kid. At one of his niece's birthday parties, someone asked when I was due. His mother cut in and said, "Oh, she's due in the fall. I suppose we'll be part of that too." I suppose. Not we're excited. Not we can't wait. Just, I suppose. That was the last event I went to. I didn't make a scene. I just stopped showing up. I gave birth to a little girl. Her name is Elena. She came out screaming and healthy, and I felt something snap into place in me that I didn't know was missing. She was mine. Mine and his. A piece of me that no one could deny. We sent a text to his parents. No reply. They didn't visit. No flowers. No gifts. They met her 4 months later at a cousin's barbecue. His mother didn't even hold her. His father said, She looks more like your side," and walked away. By the time Elena turned 2, I'd stopped waiting for them to treat me like family. I started therapy. I needed it. I had so much anger in me, but it was cold and quiet, buried under everything. I didn't want to raise a daughter while carrying that weight. My therapist asked me once, "What would it look like for you to reclaim your place?" I didn't have an answer right away. But one afternoon, while going through boxes in the garage, I found an old stack of photos from Elena's birth. I'd printed them and never made a scrapbook. There was one picture I hadn't seen in years. It was me in the hospital bed, looking like hell, hair a mess, eyes half open. My husband was holding Elena next to me, smiling like I'd never seen before. He looked proud, happy. I stared at that picture for a long time. Then I grabbed a black marker and wrote in thick letters on the white space at the bottom, "The day your son chose his real family." I slid it into a plain envelope. No return address. I mailed it to his parents' house. I didn't hear a word back. Not then. Not for years. But I knew they got it. That brings me to last year. Elena was almost 7. We were finally in a better place. My husband had slowly started to see how messed up his family's treatment of me, and Elena really was. After some major arguments, some distance, and some hard truths, he went low contact. Then, out of nowhere, we got an invitation to his mother's birthday dinner. It was worded carefully. Something like, it would mean a lot to have everyone together again. I didn't want to go, but my husband said, "I want them to see who we are now." So, we went. Elena wore a blue dress. She held my hand the whole time. The house hadn't changed. Same furniture. Same fake smiles. His sister had kids now, and everyone acted like nothing had ever happened. After dinner, someone brought out one of the photo albums. Not the blue one from before, but a different one. Same style. Leather, thick pages, carefully placed pictures. Everyone gathered around. I stayed back, holding Elena on my lap. They flipped through the pages, laughed at old hairstyles, pointed at vacations. Then the flipping stopped. Silence. No one spoke. Not for a long time. Because there, wedged neatly between 2 family beach photos from the late 90s, was the photo I had mailed. The hospital one. Me, him, and Elena. With my handwriting still bold at the bottom. "The day your son chose his real family." The silence in the room lasted too long. At first, I thought maybe they didn't recognize the picture. But then I saw my mother-in-law's hand twitch, like she was about to rip the photo out of the album, but was forcing herself to stay still. My father-in-law was the one who finally broke the silence. He leaned in closer, squinted at the picture, and then looked straight at me. "You put that in here?" he asked. I didn't answer. Because I didn't have to. He knew it was me. My husband stood behind the couch, hands in his pockets. He looked at the photo. Then at his mom. Then at me. "Yes," he said. "Calm. Clear." She did. That might have been the first time I'd ever heard him claim something like that in front of them. His sister made this scoffing noise. "Seriously? You think this is funny? Just sneak a photo in like some kind of revenge." My husband turned to her and said, "You all cut her out of everything. Even after she gave birth to Elena, not one of you treated her like she mattered. So yeah, this picture belongs here more than half the crap in this album." And just like that, the mood changed. His mother stood up and started talking over him. "This is not how family works. We don't shame each other like this. If you had something to say, you should have said it directly instead of doing this." She pointed at the album like it had personally insulted her. That's when I finally spoke. "I did say something. That day in your living room, when your husband slapped my hand away and told me I didn't belong. That was me saying something. With my silence. With every family gathering I skipped. With every year you ignored my daughter. That photo? That's the only time any of you ever looked at us long enough to feel anything real." She just stared at me. Then she said something I didn't expect. She said, "I never told him to say that to you." She meant the slap. The words. "You don't belong in our history." But she said it like it made her innocent. Like standing there, and letting it happen didn't count. You didn't stop him either, I said. None of you did. My daughter, still in my lap, looked up at me. She whispered, Mom, are we in trouble? I kissed her head.
No, sweetie.
We're just telling the truth. And that's when things got worse. My father-in-law pushed the album shut and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, if you don't like how we are, maybe you shouldn't be here. No one said anything after that.
The words just sat there.
It wasn't new. He'd said things like that before. But this time, Elena heard it. She curled into me, her face against my chest. And my husband, for once, didn't stay quiet. He stepped in front of everyone and said, this was a mistake. His mom said, so that's it? You're walking away again. He didn't even answer. He just looked at me and nodded. We gathered our things. Elena carried her drawing she had made for her grandma. She left it on the table on the way out. But it didn't end there. 3 days later, we got a group email from his mother. She said she was disappointed in how everything had unfolded, that airing personal pain in front of children was inappropriate. She wrote, we're willing to rebuild, but only if there's respect. And that includes respecting our boundaries when it comes to how we preserve family memories. That line made me laugh out loud. Preserve family memories. As if I hadn't been erased from every one of them. I didn't respond. But a week later, something strange happened. My husband's cousin, let's call her Marissa, texted me. We weren't close. She was always neutral, quiet at gatherings. She wrote, hey, I saw the photo. I remember that day in the hospital. You were so strong. You looked like you'd been through hell and still smiled. I thought you should know. I saw it, and I think it should be in the album. Then she said something that stuck with me. That family has a long history of rewriting things they don't like. But not everyone is okay with that anymore. Since then, a few people have reached out.
Quietly, carefully.
A cousin who said, we always wondered why you disappeared. An aunt who said, I never liked how they treated you. It's like the photo cracked something open. Not just in their album, but in the story they'd been telling themselves for years. But now there's something else. A new piece of a story. My sister-in-law posted a photo online last week. A new family gathering. The same living room. Same couch. That photo album? It was gone. Not on the coffee table. Not in the bookshelf. Replaced by a new one. Different cover. Lighter color. Like they'd started over. Like they were trying to erase the picture all over again. And now something's coming. I don't know what, but I can feel it. The silence isn't silence anymore. It's waiting. 2 weeks after that dinner, after the photo, after the email, things went quiet again. But not in the usual way. This time it felt like the kind of quiet where everyone is holding their breath. Then my husband got a phone call from his sister. He almost didn't answer. But he did. I was sitting across from him at the kitchen table, watching his face change as she talked.
Confused at first.
Then tense. Then angry. He hung up without saying goodbye. She said Mom's making a new album, he told me. Starting fresh. No drama. Just the people who represent the best of the family. I just blinked at him. So, they're cutting us out completely now. He didn't answer right away. Then she said Elena's not going to be in it. That it's better she's not caught in the middle of our issues. I swear my vision went blurry for a second. Not me. Not us. Elena. They were erasing her now. I tried to stay calm. I really did. But something about that just broke me. A few days later, we found out that they were planning a big anniversary party for his parents. 40 years. A rented hall. Catering. Family coming in from out of state. We weren't invited. But people started tagging each other in posts about it on social media. The invitations went out. Pictures of the setup, the centerpieces, even a giant display board with family photos. And in one blurry photo posted in someone's Instagram story, I saw it. That new album. Front and center on a decorated table. Open to a page that had all the grandkids lined up. Except mine. Elena wasn't there. Not even a baby picture. Not even mentioned. A week after that, Elena came home from school crying. She'd had a substitute teacher who shares our last name. She asked Elena if she was related to Mr. and Mrs. last name, the ones from the bakery downtown. Elena said yes, thinking it would make the teacher happy. And the teacher apparently smiled and said, "Oh, you're part of that family. I saw the pictures from their big anniversary party. Such a beautiful group. You must be so proud." Elena didn't understand why I froze when she told me that. She just asked, "Why don't we go to the parties too?" I didn't have an answer for her. The next day, I told my husband I couldn't keep pretending things might get better. I told him they crossed a line when they cut her out. He agreed. But then he told me something I wasn't expecting. Dad's rewriting his will. Apparently, his sister let it slip during their last phone call. She said something like, "Well, with the way things are going, don't expect much to be left for you and your little side project." His little side project meaning me and Elena. That's when we realized this wasn't just about feelings. It was about being erased in every possible way, not just emotionally, financially. My husband wanted to confront them. He wanted to show up at their house and make them say it to his face.
But I told him no.
I had a different idea. Not revenge. Not violence. Just truth. I started going through old emails, old texts, photos, screenshots, all the messages from his family where they were passive-aggressive or outright cruel. I made a folder, a record. Then I contacted the cousin who had texted me after the photo incident, Marissa. I asked her if she knew anyone else who felt like we did.
She said yes.
More than a few. Turns out, the family's version of history isn't just a problem for me. There were others who'd been left out, pushed aside, minimized. A cousin who came out and stopped being invited. An uncle who married someone from another country and got quietly pushed to the background. People who weren't the right kind of family. So we started talking. Quietly.
Carefully.
And then Marissa told me something that changed everything. She said, "You know that album they're showing off at parties? The new one." I said yes. She said, "There's a copy of it at the print shop downtown. I know someone who works there. They've been printing extras for your father-in-law to give out." I asked her if she could get a look at it. She said, "I already did." And then she sent me pictures. Page after page. Faces smiling. Captions full of warmth. Except for one. On one of the pages labeled Legacy, they'd included a family tree. Fully illustrated. And where my husband's name was, there was a line drawn through it. No spouse. No child. Just a footnote that said, "Moved away. Lost contact." As if we were dead. As if we never existed. My hands shook when I saw it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at it and thought, they want us gone so badly. They're writing us out of blood. But what they don't know is that we're not gone. And we're not staying quiet anymore. 2 days after Marissa sent me the pictures of the family tree, I printed them out. Not just one, multiple copies. I kept one in my purse, folded neatly. The rest I tucked in a file with all the other proof. My hands didn't stop shaking for hours. That night, after Elena went to bed, I sat down with my husband and showed him everything. The printouts. The annotations. His name with a line through it. The words "lost contact" like he was some distant cousin who vanished decades ago. He stared at it for a long time. Then he said, "I don't even think they realize what they're doing anymore. It's not just hate. It's control. They want to shape the story until it looks how they want it to, even if they have to lie." He was quiet for a minute. Then he said, "I think I know why." That's when he told me something he'd never said before. Apparently, years ago, before I came into the picture, his parents had invested money into a local real estate project with a few other families. Quiet, under-the-table deals. Small-town stuff. One of those "we'll leave something for the grandkids one day" things. But the project failed. One of the partners ran off with some of the money. It caused a huge rift in the family. Lawsuits. Embarrassment. And here's the part that matters. My husband was the only one who publicly spoke out. He told his parents they were being dishonest by hiding the losses. He refused to be part of the "we keep this within the family" silence. He told them they owed people answers. That was the beginning of the fracture. They saw it as betrayal. And when he married me, someone they already saw as not fitting in, they took it as confirmation. Their son had turned against them. That's why they never truly accepted me. That's why they only got colder after Elena was born. Because in their minds, we were the consequence of his disloyalty. And now they were trying to erase the consequence. The next twist came a week later. We were driving home from the grocery store. Elena was asleep in the back seat, and my husband was scrolling through his phone at a red light when he suddenly said, "What the hell?" He showed me his screen. It was a Facebook post from his sister, a picture of their father holding a baby. Not Elena, a different baby. His sister's newborn. The caption said, "3 generations strong. Blood that remembers where it comes from." The comments underneath made it worse. Things like, "This is what real family looks like. So proud of the legacy you're building. Your father must be so proud, finally." Finally. Like everything before didn't count. The next morning, I got a call from my doctor's office. At first, I thought it was a routine thing.
But the nurse sounded strange.
She said someone had called trying to confirm details about my health insurance. They claimed to be my relative. It was flagged because they didn't have the correct answers to my security questions. I asked if they gave a name. The nurse hesitated, then said, "They said they were your mother-in-law." I lost it. I called her directly. First time in over a year. She picked up like she wasn't surprised. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just asked, "Why did you call my doctor?" She didn't deny it. She just said, "I was trying to find out if everything was okay with you. There are certain things that should be part of the family's knowledge." I asked her what she meant. She said, "If something happens to you, we need to know what's going on with Elena. She's still a last name." That's when it hit me. They weren't just trying to erase us. They were waiting for something to go wrong. Trying to build a case. Trying to look like the ones who are responsible. Later that week, Marissa texted again. She said she had been uninvited from the next family dinner. No explanation. She'd also heard whispers that my husband was being cut out of the family trust entirely. Not just removed, replaced. His sister's son, barely a toddler, was being named the new successor. His name was going into the tree. Ours was being cut out. Then something else happened. Someone mailed us a package. No return address. Inside was a USB stick. No note. No label. We plugged it in using an old laptop, just to be safe. It had 3 video files. All recordings from inside his parents' house. Looks like from a hidden nanny cam. One showed his parents and sister talking about what to do if they try to come for any part of the estate. Another showed them flipping through the new album, laughing about how nobody outside the family will even question it. But the third one, it was a recording of a conversation between his father and someone on speakerphone. I don't know who the other voice was, but I remember exactly what his father said. "That woman is never going to be part of this family. If something happens to my son, I will fight for custody. She's not stable. She comes from nothing. I've got people looking into her already." I just sat there after the video ended. That was it. That was their plan. Erase me. Discredit me. And if they ever had the chance, take my daughter. They weren't just rewriting the past anymore. They were preparing to control the future. The night we watched those videos, my husband and I didn't sleep. We sat at the kitchen table until dawn, Elena asleep upstairs, our heads in our hands. This wasn't just hate. This was a plan. And we had proof. I'd been collecting little pieces of their cruelty for years without realizing it. Texts, emails, offhand comments. Now we had their words on video.
Talking about me.
Talking about Elena. Talking about custody like I was some unstable stranger instead of the mother of their granddaughter. We weren't perfect either. We stayed too quiet for too long. We kept showing up, hoping they'd change. I mailed that photo out of anger, not peace. My husband avoided confrontation instead of drawing a line when it mattered. We both let the slow erosion happen until it touched Elena. But now it was different. Now they had crossed into something you can't forgive. We didn't rush. We planned. First, I made digital backups of everything: the videos, the emails, the screenshots, the photos of the family tree. I stored them on encrypted drives and sent copies to Marissa and a lawyer friend. Then we reached out to some of the other people who'd been cut out or mistreated. The cousin who came out and was erased. The uncle with the wife from another country. Marissa. People who knew the truth but stayed quiet because they didn't think it mattered. It turned out once we showed them the videos, they wanted to talk. They'd been holding years of resentment too. One by one, they started sending me their own screenshots, their own emails, their own recordings. We built a file big enough to choke a person. The real family album. Then we made our move. The parents' 40th anniversary party was 2 months away. Big hall. Caterers. Photographers. Local newspaper covering it. Everyone coming. We weren't invited.
Perfect.
Marissa still had a friend on the inside, one of the servers. She got us the program for the night, even the seating chart. We didn't go in guns blazing. We didn't even show up at first. We sent the album. Not the leather one. Not the pretty curated one they'd built.
Ours.
A giant black binder, delivered by courier right before dinner started. Inside, every photo, email, and screenshot of the ways they'd erased people. The videos of their private conversations. Pages labeled with dates and captions. On the first page, a photo of me, my husband, and Elena in the hospital. Underneath, in plain black ink, the family you tried to erase. We stayed home that night. Sat on the couch with Elena watching cartoons. My phone started buzzing halfway through the evening. Marissa was texting updates. She said the binder had been opened at the head table. She said people were reading it out loud. She said the room went dead silent. Then she sent one more message. Your father-in-law just walked out. He's shaking. People are yelling at them. Guests are leaving. Reporters are filming. I almost didn't believe it. Then the first Facebook Live popped up. A guest had streamed part of the chaos. You could hear people shouting. The new album, their fake history, had been knocked off the display table, pages scattering. And there in the middle of it was my handwriting. Clear as day on a giant screen someone had hooked up. The family you tried to erase. By the next morning, everything cracked open. The local paper ran a story, not about a happy anniversary, but about a family dispute gone public. People started sharing the videos. The ones where my father-in-law talked about me. The one about custody. The one where they laughed about rewriting history. Clients started pulling business from the bakery they owned. Old friends of the family posted comments calling them out. Even their lawyer resigned. My father-in-law tried to call my husband. We didn't answer. His sister posted a statement online claiming we'd stolen private materials and misrepresented them. People flooded her comments with screenshots proving otherwise. By the end of the week, they were pariahs in their own town. No more parties. No more albums. No more power. But here's the part nobody saw coming. A social worker reached out to me. She'd seen the videos. She told me, if they ever try to come for your daughter, you already have a paper trail proving their intent. That binder is more than revenge, it's protection. We didn't just burn their image. We burned their leverage. I'm not going to lie and say I felt nothing. Watching it all unfold, I felt a rush, a dark satisfaction. They had spent years pretending I didn't exist, pretending my daughter didn't exist. And now the whole town knew exactly who we were. But there was guilt too. I'd mailed that first photo out of spite. I'd let my anger grow instead of cutting them off clean. I'd let Elena be exposed to their coldness longer than she should have been. I can own that. It doesn't erase what they did, but it's part of my story too. Now their albums are worthless. Their history is stained. People they tried to erase are telling their stories out loud. They wanted a legacy built on control. I gave them a legacy built on truth. And if they try to rebuild, if they try to rewrite again, it won't work. Because this time, the story isn't locked in a leather book on a coffee table. It's out there. Everywhere. And when Elena is old enough, she'll know. Her mother didn't stay quiet. Her father finally stood up. And the family who tried to erase us ended up erasing themselves. That was their choice. That was their mistake. And that's our history now.